Hello everyone. This begins a series of recordings that will review our daily language sentences. The way we use DLPs, daily language program sentences, is that every day I will project a set of these sentences on the screen in my classroom. Then the students keep a notebook. Some of them like to type the sentences, and they simply are correcting whatever they see is wrong in the sentence. There's usually a set of 4 every day. And so we'll take probably about 4 of these per video and go over these. So sometimes however many we get to in a week may overlap the video of another week, but you can keep up with which ones that you're doing, and you can check your work from home if you're not in class for that day. Okay, so let's take a look at the first 4 sets that we have. If you haven't done some of these, according to what I have posted on Google Classroom, please make sure you do your sentences. You write them as correctly as you know how. You may want to leave a little space after them so you can go back and fix anything that you have wrong, okay, as you edit the sentences. And then at the end of the 9 weeks, I usually take up the collection. And if you have it online, then you can send it to me online on a Google Doc, for example. And then that will be a good test grade for you there. So just keep up with them as we go through. So here we go. Number 1. In the 400s and 500s, 3 Germanic tribes, the Angles, the Saxons, and the Jutes, settled in England. Okay, Germanic and Jutes ought to be capitalized. Germanic as a proper adjective, Jutes as a proper noun. Also, our Modern Language Association MLA format sometimes does things a little bit differently compared to other grammar books. For example, in the MLA format, AD has no periods after it. And also 400s and 500s does not have the apostrophe with the numbers anymore. But most grammar books still do it the way you see it here on the screen. Number 2. These newcomers began to slowly drive out the native Britons, and by 8600 they occupied nearly all of England. So we have 2 past tense things that are going on. Began and occupied. Well, we have a rule in grammar that if things happen at the same time in the past, it's okay to use past tense. But if one happened earlier than the other, you're supposed to use the past participle form, which means you put had in front of it, and then the participle form of the verb. So let's see what we had. Began to drive the people out. Occupied England. So first, they began to drive them out. Later on, they all moved in. They all occupied. So I need to put my had word with the first one. Had, and then the participle form is begun. Had begun. Now, to slowly drive out is not too bad in spoken English, but it's called a split infinitive. And in written English, many teachers like for you to move the adverb, like slowly right here, out of the place of the infinitive to and the verb. So we could say these newcomers had begun slowly to drive out the native Britons, or had begun to drive out the native Britons slowly, comma, it's a compound sentence, and by 8600 they occupied nearly all of England. Number 3. In England, the Anglo-Saxons established 7 main kingdoms, who often fought between themselves. Anglo-Saxons as an expression for the people and the language is hyphenated. Let's see, kingdom is, well, a kingdom may be made up of a lot of people, and who suggests people, but kingdom itself is a thing. And so we cannot use the word who with a thing. So we have to change that to comma, which often fought, and they were in one group already, you're not choosing, so among is the best word here, who often fought among themselves. So that should be, in England, comma, the Anglo-Saxons established 7 main kingdoms, comma, which, who to which, often fought among themselves. Number 4. Used to war and hardship, Anglo-Saxons accepted the belief that everything were controlled by fate. Okay, Anglo-Saxons again is hyphenated. Accepted is the wrong word. You mean accepted, A-C-C-E-P-T-E-D. And everything may include a million things, but everything itself is a singular word. So you have to say everything was controlled by fate. So that's the first set. Let's look at set number 2. By the 8600s, and remember MLA format, we leave out the periods and we don't put the apostrophe. So I would say in a paper, keep it consistent one way or the other way. Roman missionaries, they had arrived and had began to convert the Anglo-Saxon kings to Christianity. All right, so let's see. Roman missionaries had arrived, we don't need a pronoun after we've just said the noun, and began to convert the Anglo-Saxon kings to Christianity would be fine as the verb. Number 2, misplaced modifier. Promoting peace among warring leaders, the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms were united by the new religion. Okay, also in this one we have a passive voice sentence, which really is okay to use. It's just that if you have too many passive voice sentences in a paragraph, the paragraph gets very, very wordy. So let's see what we can do here. What was promoting the peace? Well, it wasn't the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. They were the one at war. It was the new religion that promoted the peace. So you could say, promoting peace, the new religion, or promoting peace among warring leaders, comma, the new religion united the Anglo-Saxon kingdoms. And that would get the modifier next to what it really modifies and make the sentence an active sentence, where the actor comes first, then the action comes second. A comma splice in the next one, that's one of our major errors in composition. Anglo-Saxon literature consisted mainly of spoken poems, songs, and chants. And then there's the comma splice, right here. So we definitely have to get that one fixed. It was a way to pass on history to illiterate people. Well, first we just have some items in a series, so poems, comma, songs, comma, and chants. And we do put that comma before and in a series in essay writing, although in print, writers rarely do. But in essay writing we do. It's called the Oxford comma or the Harvard comma. But here is the comma splice. So either put a period and start a new sentence, or use a semicolon. Now you can keep the comma, but you have to insert a coordinating conjunction, and or yet, but for, nor so, whichever one fits. Next one, sentence fragment, the worst of the composition errors. All important prose written in Latin because Anglo-Saxon was considered a vulgar tongue. Well, let's fix the easiest thing first. You notice the period is outside the quotes. Everybody else in the world who speaks English does it just like that. But we had to be different in the United States. And so our rule is that periods and commas go inside the closing quotation mark. So it would be tongue, period, close quote. But if you pick up a Canadian publication or a British publication, you'll see it just like that. To them, that's right. But our major error is our fragment. The person simply got in a hurry here, let's say, and left out his verb, right? All important prose was written in Latin. So just forgot a helping verb, but that made it a fragment, so we need to fix that. Let's look at set number 3. No Anglo-Saxon poem is more better known than Beowulf, the story of a warrior. Okay, better is already a comparative, so you do not need the word more. No Anglo-Saxon poem is better known than Beowulf, the story of a warrior. And Beowulf is an epic poem. It's a book-length poem, so we treat it like any book. We italicize it if we type it, or we underline if we handwrite it. Composed by an unknown poet that lived 1,200 years ago, this thing marks the beginning of English literature. The word "that" is not horrible right there, but "who" would be a little more specific to people. Composed by an unknown poet who lived 1,200 years ago, comma, this thing is too generic. You could say this poem, you could say this epic, you could say this heroic elegy, which a lot of people classify Beowulf as. The warrior Beowulf embodies the most high ideals of his time: loyalty, bravery, and selflessness. Most high, high is a one-syllable word. Most of our one-syllable words simply add est for the superlative form. Beowulf embodies the highest ideals of his time: loyalty, bravery, and selflessness. And then the last one here, him and his followers sailed to Denmark to defeat the fierce, bloodthirsty monster Grendel. Okay, so it's a nominative case or a subject case pronoun as we need. So he and his followers sailed to Denmark to defeat the fierce, comma, bloodthirsty monster Grendel. Now, how do you know there's a comma? If you can say the word "and" between your adjectives, you can use a comma. So let's try it. To defeat the fierce and bloodthirsty monster Grendel. Yes, the word "and" sounds okay. Well, somebody may say, well, what about between bloodthirsty and monster? Well, let's try it. To defeat the fierce, bloodthirsty, and monster Grendel. No, that one doesn't work. So just between fierce and bloodthirsty. And then the final set for this video, number 4, Beowulf was composed about 8700, but 3 centuries had passed before it was first written down. Okay, we have a compound sentence here. Beowulf was composed about 8700. That would be one independent clause. 3 centuries had passed before it was first written down. That's another independent clause. And we have but as our coordinated conjunction. So we have to have a comma before the conjunction. Beowulf was composed about 8700, comma. But 3 centuries had, well, that's the wrong past, right? Passed is our verb, before it was first written down. Now that's not horrible. In spoken English, we'd say write it down. Written by itself, though, is a little better for essay writing. Before it was first written, period. Down may be considered by some comp teachers to be a little too informal, okay? But in spoken English, I'll say it all the time, so get used to it. Anglo-Saxon singers memorized all 3,000 lines so they could recite the thing to their audiences. If you can say so that, then we do not treat the word so as a coordinated conjunction that needs a comma before it. And I can say so that. So you may want to insert the word that. You don't have to, but you could. Here we go with the thing again. So we could say the poem or the story to their audiences. That's the wrong homophone for there. T-H-E-R-E means a place. It's over there. But we need possessive case, T-H-E-I-R. Sword ready. Beowulf was laying in wait for the monster Grendel. Okay, sword ready, comma. Beowulf was lying in wait, reclining in wait, resting in wait. Laying means you put something somewhere. Okay, so he was L-Y-I-N-G, lying in wait for the monster Grendel. And then the final one, Grendel's mother, filled with rage, seeked revenge for the death of her son. Here we have a little participial phrase just thrown in to function as an adjective after the thought. And when we do that, we have commas around it. We could say filled with rage, comma, Grendel's mother, or Grendel's mother, comma, filled with rage, comma. So you can do it either way. Seeked is the wrong verb form. Of course, it should be sought. Sought revenge for the death of her son. All right? So that's our first 4 daily language sentence sets from our first of 2 collections that we have. The first collection has 36 total. The second collection that we usually do the second 9 weeks, that has a total of 30 in it. So we'll do a set of videos on 36, and then later on we'll do another set of videos on the 30. Okay? See you for the next one.